What is going on, my fellow geeks?
3 movies with elves and a guy with a white beard.
Not a lot of people accept it as canon.
2022 will be the year of Star Wars.
Well, I have more than just one piece of geek news.
I have been Isaac Hunter.
Which is like high culture, but better.
Hello, fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks, the weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about all things geeky and geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. My name is Hope Gooderl, host of the Raving Geeks podcast, along with my co-host Carter, who will introduce himself in a minute with our question of the week. If you're just joining us for the first time and you like this episode and you want to check out other episodes, you can find our other episodes at cm-life.com and any other place you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Just search Central Michigan Life Podcasts Raving Geeks. So I'm going to start off this episode with a warning for anybody who's watching on YouTube that you might see a random tail, because my cat Loki has appropriately decided he wants to join this episode. If you're also on YouTube, you can see our backgrounds, and Carter as the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's, and I have fan art of Kaz Bracker and Ketterdam, from the Grishaverse. Six of Crows. So with our question of the week, this will lead into our topic a little bit. But Carter, which of your favorite villains or anti-heroes should get their own show or movie?
Well, knowing that Joker is already getting a sequel, I think Scarecrow would be a really good villain to have a movie for. I would say Clayface, but Mike Flanagan also just pitched a movie for Clayface, so that might end up getting made. So as long as we get a Scarecrow film, I'm good.
Wasn't Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders Scarecrow in Christian Bale's?
Yeah, it was the Dark Knight.
Okay.
Dark Knight Rises and Batman Begins. He was the Scarecrow, yes.
I just wanted to make sure I had my villains correct in which films, because DC tends to put them in a lot and overlap, so I just wanted to make sure I was correct on which one.
Yeah, I really want Jamie Campbell Bower to play Scarecrow, who was Vecna from Stranger Things. I think he'd do a really good job.
He was also one of the vampires that was like the Volturi in the Twilight series, and he did a really good job with that. I will say that for that series, they did a good job with the Volturi, at least. I will say that this is definitely because I'm currently in my Grishaverse phase, but also because I think they deserve it. I think the Crows / Kaz Brecker deserve their own show. So any Netflix execs, if you're would you like to contribute, Loki? If you are listening or watching, you should definitely give the green light for the Six of Crows spinoff. That would be fantastic. But I think there would be a lot that they could use instead of just in Shadow and Bone, where they kind of gave glimpses, that they could really dive deeper into Kaz Brecker and the other crows, their backstories, and fleshing them out a little bit more, like in the books. So yeah, if you guys have a favorite villain or anti-hero that you think deserves their own show or movie, let us know, either in the comments on YouTube or reach out to us on social media. So now on to geek news for the week. Carter, what have you got for us?
I got a good chunk of news. Insidious 5 got its title revealed, which is being called Insidious the Red Door. That's a little disappointing because its working title, Fear of the Dark, is much better in my opinion. But I understand why they called it the Red Door, and I'm still excited for Insidious 5. Netflix announced their Scott Pilgrim anime series voice cast, and it's basically everybody from the live action movie. I couldn't be any happier with that. Maya Kiola, I think is her name, was cast as Lilo for the live action Lilo and Stitch movie, and she looks exactly like Leo. It's almost uncanny. So good job on Disney for that.
And I will say to anybody who is hating on her, First off, she is a child and does not deserve any sort of hate. Second off, that movie was always set in the Hawaiian Islands, so get over yourselves for casting that
Wait,
movie.
people are mad about her being Samoan,
Yeah,
but it's a
because
Samoan.
people
It's a
need to.
Samoan movie.
Yep, I don't know. There's no logic behind why they are mad.
That
They're
that's
just
so strange. The only reason to be mad is that it's another live action remake from Disney, but that doesn't mean you hate on the culture that the movie is based off of.
but this has been in the works for years. So like they just finally started really focusing on it. So people have known about this being live action for a while.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Well, HBO is getting another Game of Thrones series based off of Aegon the First, which is really cool. Fingers crossed for Henry Cavill being Aegon the First. And then Jason Momoa's Minecraft movie gets a release date of 2025. I think it was April 4th. So, Reese, if you're listening, your birthday in 2 years, we're going to go see the live action Jason Momoa Minecraft movie. I wish it was animated. I really wish it was, but that's okay. That's all my news. How about you, Hope?
Um so Netflix has already renewed The Night Agent for season 2. Which of course does not make me happy that Shadow and Bone has not been renewed for season 3 yet, but still holding out hope for season 3 of Shadow and Bone. But yeah, so if you liked The Night Agent, I got about halfway through the first episode and then had to stop for multiple reasons. But I do plan on trying to continue it. Going off of Disney's live action, um, Moana is getting a live action film. Dwayne Johnson is going to be part of it. I'm not sure if he's playing Maui again. When he posted the video on TikTok, he had his daughters with him and was talking about how like Mana and Ohana, and like what the film means to the Samoan culture as well. And then he also had a giant hook, like Maui's hook,
Mm-hmm.
and his daughters were carrying it. His two daughters were carrying it together, and they brought it to him, and then he was carrying it. And then there was a really cute moment at the end where he asked them if he was Maui, and they said no. And then he was like, "Well, do you want ice cream?" And they were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, there you go, Daddy's Maui."
Hmm.
So it's really adorable, and you should guys should go check that out. Either way, um, I'm not sure how to feel about this next one because I'm still in love with the original cast, but Harry Potter is getting a seventh season um new adaptation at HBO Max. So basically each season will be one of the books. I am not sure who is casting because it was just announced. Um I'm kind of hoping that they bring back some of the original cast members for stuff, but at the same time, like let's give way to new era of actors and actresses as well. Um, but also, if freaking Tom Felton does not play Lucius Malfoy, I might be a little upsetty spaghetti. Because he is still very much Draco Malfoy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Zolo Mariduena is DC's first Latino-led superhero in Blue Beetle,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is really cool. That trailer just dropped as well. Um, and it actually looks kind of cool. Like you wouldn't necessarily think that with something called the Blue Beetle. But it looks kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Pratt announced that he will be the lead voice in the upcoming film adaptation of Disney's Mickey Mouse, which isn't coming to screens until 2025. Um, so I'm not sure if he is going to be Mickey Mouse or if it's going to he's like the narrator who's narrating Mickey Mouse's life. He didn't really say that. He just said he was the lead voice in the upcoming film adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with HBO Max's It prequel series, they have announced 4 new cast members. The first 4 for the prequel. It's Taylor Page, Jovan Adepo, James Remar, and Chris Chalk. They are joining co-producer Jason Fuchs, and filmmakers Andy and Barbara Muschetti. So that's super exciting for fans of it. And then my final bit of geek news is that, well, okay, I have two pieces, but one is very specific to CMU. So it sounds like the next Fast and Furious movie, Fast 10, is officially going to say goodbye to Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor. Vin Diesel wasn't too specific on it, other than like saying that the moment that Paul Walker passed away in 2013, when the world was struggling with his loss, the studio made a very bold and righteous and daring decision to keep Brian O'Connor alive. I will give you this without spoiling anything. I couldn't imagine this saga ending without truly saying goodbye to Brian O'Connor. And then they were also talking about that the franchise is trying to bring everything back full circle and go back to the franchise's roots, with street racing between the explosive action and heists and rivalries. So I don't know if they're gonna kill off Brian O'Connor, because that was something that was speculated, or if they're gonna send Mia and Brian off and not use Mia at all either, or what exactly. But saying goodbye to Brian O'Connor makes me think that they're gonna kill him off somehow. Um, Not sure how. We're still speculating because no one's giving spoilers. And my final bit of geek news, which is very specific to CMU. But if you are around Mount Pleasant or are willing to make however long the hour drive is, to come to CMU on April 25th, which is a Tuesday at 8 p.m. in Placta Auditorium in Warner Hall, Nick Stone is going to be speaking at CMU. She is the author of the novel Dear Martin. And she also has a book based on Shuri from Black Panther. And it's a free event, and you can also there's also a moderated Q&A as well as a book signing after. I'm going because I got to see Angie Thomas, and to see Angie Thomas's best friend Nick Stone, I am very happy about that. And also why it's not being broadcasted more at CMU, I don't know. But she's basically going to be talking about, like, the title of her speech is Being Human, the Power of Storytelling. So yeah, I'm super excited because I cannot wait to hear from her. I love her novels as well as her storytelling of her own. But yeah, that is all the geek news that I've got for y'all. So, on to our topic of the week. I know in the past we did an episode that was Valentine's Day, and it was all about villains. And like our favorite villains and everything. So this one is gonna be more centered on like the storytelling aspect of villains and antiheroes. So like what gave us the idea and like basis for our topic today is movies like Maleficent, and Megamind. Um, Carter, were you able to think of any others? Because I think those were the only two I put in the chat.
Joker, Morbius, Venom.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it that I can think of.
I forgot you literally had Joker as your background, and my mind did not register that whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I think Suicide Squad kind of falls into it as well.
Yeah, no, Suicide Squad definitely falls into it. You're right about that.
Both Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad.
Uh-huh.
But villains are important in storytelling. There are um there are stories that we see in movies or books where the villain isn't necessarily an actual person or being, but something like time or just like circumstances. The one that I can think of that I thought of earlier was La La Land. Have
Hmm.
you seen that one, Carter?
Yeah, yeah, I love La La Land. That
Okay.
story is so tragic though.
See, that one for me, like that one was one that my mom and I saw together, and we were like, my dad would hate this because he would just get confused during it. But also that one has a happy ending, but it's not the Hollywood happy ending.
Hmm.
But that one does not have an actual person that's a villain. Um, from what I remember, it's more just like their dreams don't line up well
Hmm.
enough for them to stay together and get the Hollywood happy ending. Um, and so like it's more circumstance. But villains are very important and antiheroes are very important. Um, and so first of all, Carter, who is your first favorite villain or antihero?
My first villain or anti-hero. Ooh. Well, a Joker is like a villain. He's not really an anti-hero, but I love Joker so much. He's such a great character to look at and analyze and just read about. He's such an intriguing character that you basically know nothing about him, and yet you just fear him. Just the possibility of what he can do and what he can bring is such a great character design, and
Yeah.
I really love reading about him.
I will say, because I haven't read the comics, and I think I've said that before on here, should nobody get mad at me because you've been told before. Um, but I'll be honest and say Heath Ledger's Joker is the only one that has truly ever frightened me. But
Hmm.
I think that was also because I watched that movie when it was dark and I was by myself.
Mm.
And then my friend did a really good impersonation of, do you want to know how I got these scars? It was marching band season. Let's just say we almost lost a baritone player because he would not stop doing it and freaking me out.
That's
Um,
fun.
but I think if in the next Batman movie with um
Robert
Robert
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, I was like James Patterson. That's not the right name. Robert Pattinson. That if we get Barry Keoghan's Joker, I think he would come a close second to Heath Ledger's Joker for me. But we'll see if we get that. But I
Yeah,
do think
I do want to see more of him because he's such a great actor, and
he is.
him being Joker is a very unique choice. And with all the roles that he's had, it'll be very cool to see like what he does with that character.
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
think too, I like when he played Druig, I think Druig was kind of an anti-hero for some parts of the Eternals.
Yeah, he wasn't even really an anti-hero. He just kind of wanted to be left alone and do his own thing.
Well, he didn't want the wars and the genocides that were happening. Like you could tell just how much he cared, but because the Eternals weren't supposed to get involved, he became a villain because he took over the minds of this entire civilization
Hmm.
and was like, "No, we're gonna go live in peace and harmony, and you're not gonna hurt each other." But now I'm an outcast because I went and did what was against the rules of being an Eternal.
Hmm.
Um, but so my favorite villain or anti-hero, oh my god, it's easier to say who I hate. I will say I don't necessarily she's not I don't know if she's my top, truly top one, but Cypher from the
Hmm.
Fast and Furious franchise. First off, Charlize Theron does a phenomenal job with Cypher in the series. Um, but she's just so like methodical and manipulative, and she always knows just the right buttons to push or right words to say, and she's so human. Like it's not even like she's not covered in makeup or anything like Joker or some of the other villains we might know in superhero stuff. Like she is very much human, and I think that's what makes her creepier and scarier to me is just like the ability to manipulate and turn things towards your advantage, towards her advantage, that makes her very compelling villain and a very well done villain.
Hmm. I don't
Um,
believe that.
yeah. But so when we're talking about these two, I feel like the line between villain and anti-hero gets blurred. Like it's not as black and white as we think.
Hmm.
And it very definitely depends on how the story is told. And I think the movies Maleficent do a really nice job of showing that off really well, um, as well as all the other ones that we've said. Although I haven't seen Joker, so I can't comment on that one yet.
Hmm.
Um, but like there's such a fine line between what you consider a villain and what you consider an anti-hero. But then I feel like it mostly comes down to motivation.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to motivation and past actions.
Yeah. Well, and not even like necessarily the past actions of the character, but like the past actions of the other characters. So, like what happens to the villain or anti-hero. Like
Right, and
that's
what caused them to like turn. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because we see it a lot where it's just oh they're cruel because that's just who they are. And I think the musical Wicked does that really well too, where then they show like how Alphabet actually becomes the villain of the story, um because she was like it's wrong to experiment on these creatures when like putting the wings on the monkeys to make them flying monkeys. And
Hmm.
then she's like, nobody should have the power of the grimoire. And then they're like, oh, she's the villain now. But it's like, but is she? Is she really? Or is she just trying to help people? And
Hmm.
it's not turning out how she wants it to turn out.
Right.
Um, but yeah. So who would you say is your most hated villain or anti-hero?
Oh, who do I hate? Um, Dang, I wish I prepared more. There's no true villain that I really hate. Um, but like I don't want to bring up Morbius again, but Morbius, there's just so much that could have been done with his character.
Yeah.
He's got such an interesting backstory in the comics. I mean, he's a doctor who wants to help people with blood diseases by controlling the blood cells inside of it. And through genetic mutation, he thought he could achieve that, but he ended up just becoming the thing that he hated, and which was causing diseases and killing people. So
Hmm.
I think like the ironic twist of fate, which is something that was not touched upon in the movie, would have, increased that movie to a better liking, in my opinion.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. Like there was a lot in Morbius that I was like, why didn't you expand upon that? Oh, okay, we're shifting on to the next thing. Wait, but I wouldn't know. Then we're so I definitely could see where um like they could have expanded upon it and made it so much better. Um, but if I remember correctly, that was Sony going, F you, Marvel, we can make our own superhero
It
movie. And
really was, and they're still doing it.
I I feel like the Venom movies aren't necessarily as bad.
The Venom movies are a 1 in a million chance. They just happen to be dumb fun. Like I love the first one just because it's just fun. The second one, it's just more of the same thing. So I hope the third one changes it up a little bit.
I half wonder if part of it is the actor or like the act, who is playing the character.
I mean, Tom Hardy does his homework though.
That's true.
He did his homework for Bane. He did his homework for he was
Bane.
in a bunch of other stuff, but no, he's usually not the actor to take that kind of stuff lightly. So,
Yeah.
and I actually like his interpretation of Eddie. It's more like the loser version of Eddie than more of the tough badass version, but it's still a characteristic that they decided to expand upon. And I like
Yeah.
that it's different. Also, that just means the MCU doesn't have to do the loser version. They can do the tough, gruff version, which is
Yeah.
what I'm hoping they're going to do.
Well, and like also because I think about oh my gosh, Morbius's actor,
Matt Smith.
Jared Leto.
Oh, wait, Jared Leto. I was thinking of Milo. Oh, God, I blundered that so bad. That was so terrible. Oh,
Um,
that was a terrible blunder. Oh, God. My dad's never going to let me live that down. That was awful.
Jared Leto. Because when he did Joker too, like I feel like his Joker was just kind of like one dimensional. Like he didn't really expand on the creepiness of Joker or how possessive he was of Harley Quinn, but then how ready he was to just drop her in the
Yeah.
Suicide Squad. Like I feel like
Yeah.
he as an actor could have just deepened that character just a little bit more, but he was just like, nah, I'm only in this movie for like a total of 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna do surface level.
I do not think it was his fault because he didn't technically write the script. Though he helped, he didn't write it. So
But
I
I
think
do think that
I like
actors
I like the basis of that character. It's the gangster version of Joker. I'm like, okay, it's the Batman animated series gangster version. That's okay. He just doesn't do anything in the movie. That's the
yeah,
thing that bothers me. He's just there to be Harley Quinn's to be a Harley Quinn plot point. It's the reason
yeah.
why he's in the movie,
But
which
I
is,
mean,
but it's the Joker for the love of God. You gotta have him
yeah.
just a plot point.
Like you gotta be creepier than just having your hand being the creepy smile. Like if
Yeah,
you
or the
can't
grilled teeth or the damaged tattoo across. Oh boy,
like if you can't do that as an actor, if you can't give the creepy face and you need your painted smile on your hand to be able to do that for you, you do not deserve to be Joker,
yeah.
especially the
I
creepy Joker.
To admit, he did do a better job in the Zack Snyder's Justice League version. He was really good as that. He was like portrayed as like Joker, but if Joker was like the Antichrist, which I thought was a really, really cool detail. And I'm like, damn it, if only we had the Zack Snyder vision come true, we would have actually gotten a good Jared Leto Joker, which bums me out so bad, but that's okay. We
I
have
mean,
Joaquin Phoenix
didn't
now,
we
and
technically get the 4 hour long Zack Snyder?
we did, but that was only part one of a three-part story. So it wasn't the complete vision.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know there were supposed to be 3 parts to the Zack Snyder universe movie storyline.
Yep.
So I will give Jared Leto the benefit of the doubt to say that he could have been at least a mediocre Joker
Mm-hmm.
that was not meant to rhyme if he was given the chance.
Yeah.
But I also feel like Jared Leto's acting for a lot of his stuff is just kind of like on the surface level, that he doesn't fully dive deep. Now, I also don't know what some of his favorite like movies to have acted in um that maybe he really pushed for, that he was really passionate about, that maybe that changes how he acts on things. Um but um so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. My No one should be surprised by this answer whatsoever. My most hated villain is Dolores Umbridge. I absolutely despise her. Um,
Mm.
I don't. There was a comparison to her being Betsy DeVos at one point. Well, Betsy DeVos was in charge of the U.S. Department of Education, and it was especially more comical because Betsy DeVos was wearing an all pink outfit and Dolores Umbridge with all pink outfit. Um, but like Dolores Umbridge for me, there was no backstory or anything for her to be as cruel and like vicious as she was.
Not even in the books.
I don't fully remember, but like there wasn't much backstory besides she was just there to reform the school to make it how what was it? Fudge was first, I think. Cornelius Fudge was the first prime minister before Voldemort came back.
Oh, I don't remember.
Don't stand on the computer. No. Sorry. The villain of my household is deciding to he wants attention, Loki, and decided that he wants to try and step on my computer. Um, but like Dolores Umbridge, like she was there to make the school so that it was reputable for Fudge and the ministry, so that it was following what the ministry wanted. Um, but like then her creating all these different things of like no clubs or you have to stand 5 feet apart from each other or whatever. Like I can understand the dress code, enforcing the dress code because you want them to be proper, whatever. I get that, but it's like, really, they have to stand so far apart from each other? What are we, like, the Christian church camp that says boys and girls must be allow space for the Holy Spirit to go through?
Yeah.
And like, and then when she with the punishment of you of the spelled quill that used blood instead of ink,
Hmm.
I was like, that doesn't teach them the lesson, that just teaches them to hate you.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think that was also kind of the point that J.K. Rowling was going
yeah.
for. I
But I
guess,
feel like, sorry, what?
I guess that's what makes her a good villain, is because you love to hate her and you just want to see her die, you know?
Gosh, I so
Go.
wish that she had died in the
Yeah.
Forbidden Forest.
That's the one thing about the Harry Potter lore that I can't stand, is that they didn't kill Umbridge after all the terrible things that she
Oh,
did.
I
They
know.
didn't go through with it. And they killed Bellatrix instead. I'm like, ah.
And like, Bellatrix is the perfect example of like, first off, she is just not mentally all together, and then she becomes super infatuated with, I'm not going to call it love because I don't think it was really love, but she became super infatuated with Tom Riddle, Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
And so then of course she's going to do things, and because she's not mentally fully there, her mental capacity is like, oh, this is fun because I have power and people are scared of me. So like it made sense for Bellatrix, as like with her family background too, being the pure blood family, and during the Wizarding Wars that you wanted the pure blood, and like that made sense. I was
I
like,
just,
okay,
yeah.
I can understand Bellatrix. I don't necessarily like her, but like I understand how she's how her thought process is.
I mean, for me, she's like the Harley Quinn of the Harry Potter universe. She's nuts, but she's hot.
I mean, Daniel Radcliffe had a crush on Helena Bonham Carter. So, okay, really quick tangent. Have you seen the meme that Tim Burton secretly ships his wife Helena Bonham Carter with Johnny Depp?
No, I didn't see that. That's a meme?
There is a meme about that because of how many movies Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp have been in where they play like the opposite leading characters that are in a relationship. And then Tim Burton is the one producing and directing it.
Was Helen in Pirates at all?
No. But
Okay.
Tim Burton didn't make that movie franchise either.
I know, but I thought you were just, I didn't know if you were talking about just Tim Burton films or like all films with Johnny Depp in them.
Mostly just Tim Burton films. So
Wait, there's
I think
others.
Sweeney Todd was one.
Oh yeah.
The oh gosh, was it Nightmare Before Christmas? I think.
Yeah, it's Nightmare Before Christmas. Wait, who does she play? Is she Sally?
I think. Maybe. Maybe it's not that one.
Yeah, wait a minute. I don't think Johnny Depp is
But then there was also the Alice in Wonderland series that they were both in. That was the Tim Burton series.
yeah, he
And
was Mad Hatter and was she the queen?
Yeah, she was the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, no, it's wow. Danny Elfman plays Jack Skellington. I did not know that.
Oh,
And
what was
Catherine O'Hara is Sally.
it wasn't that one. But there are like 4 or 5 different Tim Burton films where they're in it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this like joke and meme that Tim Burton secretly ships his wife with Johnny Depp,
Okay,
which I find hilarious.
that
But
is
it's also like
funny.
they have really good screen chemistry together.
Yeah, they really do.
Like they are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think ending tangent. Like I can understand like even Voldemort, I can kind of understand part of his reasoning for being the way that he is. Because, he had he was in the orphanage and everything and he was different. But then it was really the pure blood Slytherins that really like accepted him more. And so he was able to kind of amass the power that way. So I get that, and I get hating the Muggles because his dad and everything. But Dolores Umbridge just has like no real reason for being as cruel as she is,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like I can't. We're just, and so I don't know if she's my most hated villain because like I can't see why she's the way that she is,
Mm-hmm.
or if she's my most hated because she's so well done for being the way that she is that it's just completely awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
But all right, so on to our next piece, which is something that I'm coming up with right now. Yes, I also forgot. Speaking of Loki,
Mm-hmm.
that Loki is part of the anti-hero slash villain category that blurs the lines.
Yeah, that's true. I consider him more of a hero now. It's really weird. Like, I don't even know what to consider Loki. He's not an anti-hero. He's not an anti-villain. He's not a villain, and he's not technically a hero because of the shit that he pulled in Thor and Avengers. So
Yeah,
he's just kind of his. I call it the Loki category. He's a
he's
Loki.
his own category.
Yeah, he's a Loki. He's a Oh crap, I forget the term for it, but he's a wild card. He's a wild
Yeah,
card. Yeah.
I would say that there are other wild cards out there. What
Mm-hmm.
they are at the moment, I cannot think. Um, because it is end of week
Mm-hmm.
and brain is fried. But I think like Loki's character too really shows the blurred lines, not only because he's his own category, but because he does go from the villain, you can see the villain aspect and how he becomes the villain. But then you can also see him like start to change and
Mm-hmm.
be like, no, I kind of want to do good. I'm still going to cause mischief because it's fun, but I'll do some sort of good things
Mm-hmm.
to like, oh crap, now I gotta go save the universe and be the hero. And everything I knew was wrong because, the clock world, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called.
The TVA?
Yeah, them.
Oh,
Thank you. I
okay.
was thinking of the little woman clock thing that's kind of
Oh, Miss
creepy.
Minutes. Yeah, Miss
Yeah.
Minutes. Yeah.
I don't know if she would be considered a villain or anti-hero. She's just creepy.
She's just an AI technology, so she's not even really real.
That's
Well, I can't really say that because Jarvis became Vision, so it is possibility for her to become real.
fine. Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna throw out a hot take. I think Loki's the most developed character in cinema history besides Anakin Skywalker.
Mm,
Like, name another character in film history that has had 8 films to just basically develop. He's been in 8 films. Wait a minute. There's
yes and I
Avengers,
guess it depends on how you define develop.
Ragnarok. Or he
Because
completely changes the character. So when you look at him in Thor and when you look at him in
I was talking about Anakin.
Oh, Anakin? Well, it's same case actually. When you look at him from episode 1 and then to episode 6, he's a completely different character.
Yeah. So I guess he's kind of the opposite of Loki.
Yeah.
because he goes from he's supposed to be the hero to he becomes the villain.
Yeah, he goes
Okay.
from good, bad, good, and then Loki goes from bad, good, bad, good again.
I guess I guess what's like influencing my other part, like part of my view on Anakin, is the fact that someone made like a Tumblr post that the reason why he saved Luke was purely for dramatic effect because he's just very dramatic. And what better way
Yeah.
to go out than a dramatic losing hand and saving son and
I mean, like the reason that scene has context is because of the countless comic books and books that Vader has had. He was a very damaged person, and he kind of wanted to die. So
yeah.
he was also that's like a very character thing that isn't touched about Vader or Anakin. When Anakin becomes Vader, he's very suicidal. Like he wants to die throughout the entire books, movies. Like he's just waiting for it. It's really, really depressing.
I mean, to be fair, he literally has to use his suit to live.
Yeah, and he's
So,
also ruled by an evil space
yeah.
wizard. So yeah, his life is pretty hell.
I like it's not something that is completely out of the world to understand. Like you actually are like, nope, I get it.
Yeah.
Um other anti-heroes. Um so this is gonna be a throwback, and I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you're old enough to have seen it. Now, granted, I watched it
Okay.
on Netflix because I was not old enough to watch it when it was actually on TV.
Okay.
Um Merlin, the show
Merlin.
Merlin.
It's on my watch list. I just have yet to watch it yet.
See, because that show shows another like fantastic how a character goes from really good and passionate and compassionate, has empathy, to what creates them to be a villain in Morgana. Because
Hmm.
Morgana starts off as the one who's she's trying to help people. Like she cares about everyone. She's actively trying to help people. Like child Mordred, she tries she's helped saves him to get him out of the castle, um and then you can see how learning that Uther is her father and all his anti-magic changes her. And I really feel like if she did not have crap, what was her sister's name?
Oh wait, Morgan Le Fay, isn't that like her actual name?
Morgana. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because
Like
I
the
know her
show
from
kind
like the old King Arthur,
yeah.
like as Morgan Le
Yes.
Fay. No, yeah, now I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, good pick.
Um but there was the blonde, and oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, but she comes in and she basically like manipulates Morgause. She manipulates Morgana because I think they technically have sisters or something, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly. Um, and then you can see just like how much Uther's anti-magic and everything, and then Morgause's influence on her really changes her. And I'm like, no, you need to stick by Arthur and Merlin because they will keep you good. They will. They can teach you. Merlin will like I was really rooting for the whole Merlin showing Morgana how to use magic and them being a power dynamic. Not necessarily couple in the way of like romantic couple, but like power couple in like best friends type way.
Mhm.
Um but you can really see how like why she does what she does and like how she becomes the villain of the story as well. Um and I will also say that Mordred, because they do keep that Mordred is the villain and the Bane, Arthur's Bane, however you say that, whichever way that goes. Um, like they do keep that, but they also make it Arthur slash Merlin's fault for the reason why Mordred kills Arthur.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you should definitely go watch that show on Netflix because it is
Yeah,
fantastic.
I know. I've heard many things.
It is. I absolutely love Bradley James and um oh my gosh, Colin
Colin.
Morgan
Oh.
and Katie McGrath. If you guys watched Supergirl, she was Lex Luthor. She was Lena Luthor.
Oh yeah, I know her. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was fantastic in Merlin. Um, but yeah, it was a really great series, and there were a lot of other. Some of the knights, a couple of the knights have been in other things since.
Is Sir Gawain
Um,
in that show at all?
who?
Sir Gawain or Sir Gawain?
Yeah, Gwaine is in there. Um, he is hilarious, and his friendship with Percival is fantastic.
That makes sense.
Um, Lancelot is not in it as long as you think. He's only in it for about 6 episodes, I think, in total.
Huh. And he's like one of
Um,
the popular knights. That's interesting.
yeah, he was, and they do have like the twist of um the love triangle,
Hmm.
but it only lasts for a little bit, for like an episode.
Okay.
It kind of lasts over a few, but like it really gets centered on in one episode. Um, and then it causes things to happen, and yeah, it's a really good series. And Morgan Le Fay, Morgana, it is also a really good example, like how they created her to show how villains get made.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool.
Yeah. Oh, I realized the other ones that I was thinking about, the other movies, the Descendants movies.
Oh, yeah.
They are, they are called the villain kids, because they are the children of the original villains for Disney. But I think it's the third one specifically, yes, the third one, um, that also shows that you don't have to be the descendant or the child of a villain to become a villain, because they have Audrey, who is the daughter of Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. She becomes a villain in the third movie, and it's
Hmm.
actually up to all the villain kids to try and stop her.
Hmm.
Um, but that one you can also see like how she becomes a villain, and then her realizing the error of her ways, um, after all the destruction, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
and then you also have Hades in the third movie, which is beautiful. Who is very well casted. And if he does not make a resurgence in the next Descendants movie, I'm going to be very upset because he was fantastic. And I would like to see Grandpa Hades.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What else you got on this topic? Because you were the one who came up with this topic
That's
too.
true. That's true. That's true. I gotta show up. I gotta show up. Bowser's a great villain and anti-hero because in multiple games he is played as a hero, especially in the Mario Luigi RPG series. They're more like frenemies. It's really
Yeah.
funny. Um, and Bowser's just always been one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite villains. Um, yeah, he's just great. I love him.
I feel like if we're gonna go on that route, I'm swinging it back to movies a little bit because this is what I know. But Wreck-It Ralph. That
Oh,
Ralph is seen as
totally
the
counts. Wow,
yeah.
I can't believe I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're
I
totally
didn't
right.
think of it until you said Bowser, and then I was like, oh
Oh
wait,
yeah,
he
then
was.
the villains meeting. The villains meeting. Oh, that's such a great underrated Disney movie. I can't believe not as many people like it. And it's basically what got the video game movie trend started again.
Oh yeah, because it showed up, but it wasn't just the old video games.
It was
Like
new stuff too. Yeah.
yeah, it was like including the new ones, and it was, oh, they actually have their own universe outside of their games where they all connect.
It's such a
And
great idea too. Through the outlets, I'm like, that is so genius. I didn't even think about that. It's
and
such
then the
a
Wi-Fi coming up. And they're like, what's Wi-Fi?
Mhm. Those are great movies. Yeah.
And yeah, and then when the one, I think it was in Wreck-It Ralph 2, maybe it was the first one. No, it
No,
was the
it
second
was
one,
in the third. It was
where the different characters adopt the little girls from the one video game because their video game got broken.
Oh yeah, I think that's the second movie. I
Yeah. Because
think
that was when oh gosh, what's her name? When she went and she stayed with Adina Menzel's video game character on in the Wi-Fi.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember her name. All I can
Yeah.
remember is Fix It Felix and Wreck-It Ralph for some reason, and Penelope, but I can't remember her character's name for the life of me. Mm.
Yeah. But it was that those movies are also fantastic at
Yeah,
showing
no, they are.
um and like in all honesty, I don't think there is anything out there. If someone can think of something where there is an act where I'm wrong, tell me because I want to know what it is. But like where there's not a villain of some sort. And like I do mean this in villain is time or circumstance, um, as well as an actual person. Because I don't think there is anything like that out there because you need that conflict or like the villain.
Hmm.
But I feel like villains are also very underrated.
Oh, wait a minute. What was your question again? I think I just thought of something.
Where like there isn't actually a villain.
Inside Out.
But technically the villain is
No.
happy.
What? No, it's not.
Yes, it is because she tries to keep
What? No, the
everything
villain is
happy.
Riley herself.
But the,
It's her
her
own.
emotions
You're talking
are
about
Riley.
no, it's not. The whole movie is about the dynamic between happy and sad and the balance of emotions. That doesn't make them a
Exactly.
villain.
That's why happy is the villain.
God, not
Because she tries to make everything happy, so then she tries to keep sadness away. And
because
then
that's a role and the whole misunderstanding of roles.
yeah,
That doesn't make her a villain just because she doesn't 100% know what she's doing. Plus,
but
she was the first one in Riley's mind. She started everything.
that's the whole point of this episode though, is that the line between villain and anti-hero or hero is very blurred. Because Happy is the villain in a sense, because it's her fault for trying to keep all of Riley's memories happy and not have any sadness or anything. That she ends up fighting with sadness, and then they end up disappearing into Riley's subconscious. And so then Riley has no idea what's going on. And because Happy is trying to maintain everything is happy and there can be no sadness, like she's also kind of the hero, but she's also mostly the villain or anti-hero if you want to put it that way instead of true villain.
Uh, I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I'll accept it.
I mean, because she is the conflict. Because you
Yeah,
can't have
I'll agree with you. She is the conflict. That is 100% true.
yeah,
The whole conflict resolves around her and her need for control.
exactly.
That is it. That I can agree with too.
Well, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if anyone can come up with something that doesn't have a villain or the anti-hero, I would love to hear what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think there is anything because villains are very important to stories
Mm-hmm.
because they create the conflict, they create the thing that not necessarily needs to be fixed, but needs to be resolved in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like even when you think of anti-heroes, they kind of work on the chaos and they resolve the chaos or they are able to manage the chaos to make it not as chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, they're just very important. And honestly, I would love more stories that are like Maleficent or Wreck-It Ralph or the Descendants movies where they flip it on the idea of a villain on its head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because that's also why I loved Maleficent 2 was that the queen was the true villain, not Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
Philip's mother was the true. Not that, sorry if I just spoiled anything for anybody. If you
Yeah,
haven't
it
seen
has been out since
Maleficent,
2012. You're fine.
has it really?
Yeah, it's old. It's either 2012 or 2013.
No, Maleficent #1 was 2014.
Really?
Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, was 2019.
Damn, the sequel came out that late? Jeez.
Yes.
Yikes. I remember seeing trailers for that movie.
But yes, Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, right. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer was the villain.
Mm-hmm.
She did it very well, but you could tell from the beginning too that something wasn't quite right with her. But like, also, you don't know if it's just because you're so used to the fairy world, the fae world, and you're not used to the human world as much. Um, but that was definitely like a movie that showed villain isn't always who you think.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be fantastic to. I feel like this was a movie. I could be very wrong. I feel like I'm very wrong. I thought there was a movie about Ursula. Maybe it was just a Little Mermaid 2 where Ursula's sister came on and kind of explained things.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe Ariel's Beginnings. Maybe it was in 3.
maybe.
Maybe.
Oh crap, there was a lot of Little Mermaids.
I don't like to talk about it. My favorite Disney princess has an unremarkable amount of sequel trash.
But like Ursula, I would really love a Ursula centered movie that is like Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if you keep her the villain where she stays the villain or if you make her the hero. Like, I don't care what way that goes. But like I would really love an Ursula like origin story.
Yeah, I'd love to see the transformation between mermaid and sea witch. Like it seems like
Yeah.
it's such an interesting background.
But
And
then also like because her sister, if I remember correct, her sister didn't look as like octopus-ish as Ursula did.
yeah, that's because she was a squid.
Yeah, but like it's still she was still closer to like this mermaid look
Mm-hmm.
than Ursula, which makes you think that Ursula went through more in order to become the sea witch.
Right.
But I mean, Disney, I'm just throwing you out ideas. So if you want to
Hey,
hire
we're
me,
getting a Mufasa prequel movie. Why not?
I mean, if Melissa McCarthy is as good as it seems like she is as Ursula, I would be totally down with her being Ursula in a prequel movie.
I mean, she's perfect casting. I can't imagine another actor to be Ursula other than Melissa McCarthy.
The fact too that she used drag like as 100% her inspiration for the Ursula outfit and every like costuming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm like, yes, let's use underappreciated artists
Mm-hmm.
and show off how amazing they are. I was like, as soon as that came out, I was like, this makes so much sense as to why it's so amazing looking. Like, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we would like to know what you guys think. Who are your favorite villains or anti-heroes? Who's your least favorite or your most hated, not least favorite? Because I feel like least favorite doesn't give as much to talk about. Oh, we got a dog incoming. Um, but so, you guys can reach out to us. But so what to end our episode, we always like to end with some geeky recommendations. Whether this is books, movies, TV shows, something in our community, anything that we want to geek out on, and share with you guys to have you guys geek out on as well. So Carter, what have you got for us?
This weekend is a really big weekend for movies. We have by the time this recording, the Mario movie will already be out. So go see it so we can get a Luigi's Mansion movie. And then Air by oh god, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon just came out about the Michael B. Jordan shoes and how they were made. That also came out, I think, the same day. And also this Friday, Paint with Owen Wilson. It's a parody biopic about Bob Ross's life and certain events that happened. and I'm really excited to see that movie. The Bob Ross estate said it was okay to like use certain details from his life, and it's Owen Wilson, so Owen Wilson's a win in anything in my book. So yeah, go to the movie theaters this week, and that is my recommendation.
Nice. I had a recommendation earlier and now I can't think of it. But my recommendation right now is so I'm currently finishing up the last episode of the recent FBI crossover between the 3 FBI series. And this crossover was so much better. It was more consistent and flowed so much better than the last crossover that happened between the three. So I definitely recommend watching the crossover. Even if you haven't watched any of the other ones, you don't truly need to know the other stuff. Just watch the crossover. It's fantastic. But I also recommend just getting out, especially if it's sunny this weekend, and finding a park to go to and go walk because cabin fever is a thing. And you should just go walk and enjoy sunshine, especially if it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be good weather. You might need a coat, but oh well. It's spring. It's not summer yet. It's still spring. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, like I said, you guys should reach out to us and tell us your favorite villains or anti-heroes, or if you can think of anything that doesn't have a villain or anti-hero in it, let me know because we would very much like to know what that is. And you can reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook at Raving Geeks. And you can also check out our TikTok videos on TikTok at Raving Geeks. I try to share them on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not the greatest at it. But yeah, we would love to hear from you guys. But as always, I've been Hope Gooderl along with my co-host.
I'm Carter Sally.
And we guys hope that you guys have a great weeky and stay geeky.
See you guys later.
Yeah.